Hello folks, in this one we're looking at a very simple question. Can you negotiate the price of your car lease? Can you haggle? Is there any room to get the price down? Well, the simple answer to that is maybe. So let's have a look at first how a car lease price is made up, and that will give you a better understanding of when you can possibly get a cheaper price and how you go about it. There is an accompanying blog post for this on my website, which I'll put a link to in the video description, as well as my link to 𝙇𝙄𝙉𝙆𝙎. So let's just understand how the lease price is made up. First thing is the cost of the car. So that's being sourced by your broker generally, or it might be from the manufacturer directly on occasion. But the cost price of the car is a big factor. There are some things you can do to help with that on occasion, and I'll talk about that in the next step of the video. The next thing is the cost of the finance. Obviously, that car's being purchased by someone, whether it be a broker, leasing provider, whoever it is, but there's finance attached to that, and that has to be paid for. So that goes into the cost of your lease. By the way, that finance fee can vary massively depending on your credit score, and you'll often find the very best deals are only available for people with their best credit score. When I say the best credit score, sometimes it can be as much as a 900 score above, sometimes it's 650 and above. But if you've got a really poor credit score, one thing, you may get refused a lease deal, and secondly, if you are accepted for a lease deal, you might find the finance is a lot more expensive than it would be if you had a really great credit score. So bear that in mind. VAT is obviously charged on pretty much everything we buy in the UK. Lots of things we buy in the UK anyway. So if you're in the UK, it's VAT. If you're elsewhere, sales tax, for example, will be factored into the cost of your lease. Of course, the lease terms are a huge contributing factor because they affect everything else. If you're doing a 2-year deal versus a 4-year deal, there might be less interest on the 2-year deal. If you've got higher mileage, the depreciation might be higher. The length of the term affects depreciation. So that's a big factor, the actual terms of your specific lease. And then, of course, the last one is the broker admin fee. And that's where a broker says, we're doing all this work for you. We're sourcing a car. We're doing the finance. We've got to apply for the finance. We've got to do lots of paperwork, lots of FCA compliance stuff. We want 300 quid for it. So which part of the price is negotiable? Well, a lot of it's not. The cost of the finance is not really going to be negotiable, certainly not by you. But there are some things you can do to try and get yourself a better price. Now, I say to anyone, before you consider getting a lease, check your credit rating. And if it's low at the moment, go on sites like 𝘼𝙁𝙁𝙄𝙇𝙄𝑼𝙏 and look at things you can do to improve your credit score. You can improve it. And if your credit score is that bad and you've got lots of debt, I would say leasing a car just might not be for you. But if you feel you can afford a lease and your credit score is the only thing perhaps holding you back, do what you can to improve it. As I said, sites like 𝘼𝙁𝙁𝙄𝙇𝙄𝑼𝙏 are full of tips on that kind of thing and are far better versed in that than I am. So I would suggest you go and check those out. Now, the only part of a lease price that's really completely negotiable is the broker fee. And I say that because it's the only bit that the broker can really control 100% of the time. And quite often the brokers don't make much commission from your actual lease. Sometimes it can be a couple of £100 for doing your lease. I've actually looked at setting up a leasing brokerage myself in the past and haven't done it because I didn't think it was economically viable. The first deal I sort of looked at would have made me £30. And to put a lease through, it's, you know, a couple of hours work as a minimum, and it can be several hours work. And of course, you often have all that work and then somebody doesn't pass through the credit check, for example, and that's all wasted time. You're not getting paid for it. So a lot of brokers will stick hard and fast to their admin fee, but sometimes you might have some leeway there. As I said, that bit is controllable by the broker, and not too much of the rest of it is, or not too often anyway. Now, the cost of the car is something that you might feel you've got absolutely no influence over, but actually you can have some influence over it. Often the best deals are because a finance company or a leasing provider has bought in bulk from manufacturers. They've gone to Tesla and said, we want 800 of your Model 3s. And they've got a huge discount because of that bulk order. And you might think to yourself, well, I can't go and bulk order 1,000 cars from someone. However, what you can do is be really flexible when it comes to things like paint color and options, optional extras, I mean. Maybe you particularly wanted this trim and they've only got that trim at a great price. And often it's the case that you can get a much better car for your money just by being a bit open-minded. Sometimes the same car in a higher trim level. So it's important to chat with your broker and see exactly what's available if there are better deals available. And this comes to how you negotiate, all right? So I would say go to Lease Loco, use that link. It's a comparison site. You should find all the best deals are there. It's a really competitive marketplace. Brokers are competing with each other to try and get position 1, 2, 3, etc. So my advice to you is to always go to a comparison site when you're looking for a lease. And obviously I work with Lease Loco regularly, so I would suggest that's the one you try. Various other reasons for that, apart from the fact that I work with them regularly. I think it's the best website. I think it's the best user experience. And I know how much they vet the people on their site. And I know that not everybody does that, and certainly not to the same extent. And from that point, you want to be speaking to the broker. So you make your inquiry online, chat with the broker, say to the broker, this looks great, but that admin fee looks a bit steep. Is there anything we can do around that? And also the actual lease price is just a wee bit too much for me. I'm just not quite comfortable with it. Is there anything else we can do? Do you have similar cars in stock right now that are on fantastic deals? Is there anything amazing that I'm not aware of? Do you have other versions of this exact car that I may be more interested in? By doing exactly that many moons ago, I've told this story before, so apologies to people that have watched the channel for a long time, but many moons ago, I ordered a 𝑘𝙗𝙉 for my wife. I called up, it was £179 a month. It was absolute base spec. And they said to me, do you want the absolute top spec car? As I said, this was a long time ago, but the base spec one was about 15.5 grand. And I think the top spec one was 26 grand, 27 grand. And I said, well, not really. Like, we won't use any of those features. Why do you ask? And they said, well, we've got access to stock for those. And it's £1.80 a month more. That got us leather seats, got us all-wheel drive, got us a better engine, automatic gearbox, sat-nav, dual zone climate control back when that was rare. So, you know, it was well worth doing. £1.80 a month more got us almost twice as much car in terms of the actual price. So chat with your broker. It's really important. And the second thing I would say is don't be like the aggressive haggler. It doesn't work for most people in most circumstances. When people go and buy a used car, they often go in with their chest puffed out. I've got all the money. I'm in control. Rah. Just be nice. Be respectful. Have a chat with someone. Don't be aggressive with it. Don't say, if you don't drop that, I'm not going to... You straight away putting a brick wall up between you and the person you're negotiating with. So on the phone, I would try the approach of, this looks good, but I feel like it needs to be a little bit better because I'm not quite happy at that price. Is there anything you can do? Also, that admin fee is a bit steep. Could we do something with that? You know, is there anything else that I'm not aware of? Is there another version of this car? Look, have a conversation. Be nice and open. Work with them. If a broker gets the feeling that you're working with them and not against them, you're more likely to get a positive outcome, I would say. Also, look at your annual mileage. Make sure you're giving the broker a realistic annual mileage figure. Lots of people say I do 12,000 miles a year and they do 6,000 or 7,000 miles a year. And on that annual mileage front, also check the excess mileage charge. So that's the charge if you go over the agreed figure. Now, sometimes it's cheaper to take a lower mileage lease deal. So say you're going to do 10,000 miles a year. It's sometimes cheaper to do a 5,000 mile a year lease deal and pay the excess mileage fee at the end. That excess mileage fee can vary dramatically. I've seen it as low as 3p. I've seen it as high as 60p recently. Now, do that yourself or ask the broker to work it out for you, but I strongly suggest you do it. It's worth the effort because it can make a massive difference on the amount of your overall lease cost. Finally, just keep expectations low on this, especially some of the deals we see on Lease Loco. When I do videos on these flash deals that come up and the price is just sensational, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to get any money off that, because they've got people stacked up. They've got inquiries absolutely stacked. I did a video just yesterday on a deal for an ID4, VW ID4, that was sensational. And the broker had that deal live for an hour the day before, and they had to shut it down for basically about 4 or 5 hours just to get through the inquiries they already had. So on those really sensational deals, you are not going to get anything off. I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if you did, because they've got 50 other people to call back. And it's all about getting things through quickly on those for the broker, because sometimes on those really sensational deals, there's a pool of cars available. Say there's 800 cars available, and every broker in the UK is trying to sell those 800 cars. And every broker in the UK has got 10 people on hold and 10 people to call back. So they go very, very quickly, and there's no need for anyone to do any negotiating on them because the price is already there. It's already amazing. If you want something more bespoke, you want a car that's not on a great deal, obviously I always advise against it. I say shop for the deal and not for the specific car. I've done a video on that, which I'll link at the end of this one because it's well worth watching again. But just have low expectations, and anything you get is a bit of a bonus. You're not going to haggle like you can buying a used car from someone privately. Think about your budget and what you can get for your budget, rather than thinking about, well, I definitely want a mid-size SUV. Just shop with your budget and see what's available in that budget, and you might be very, very surprised at times. I hope you found that one useful, folks. Please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. It's completely free, doesn't cost you a penny, and it really helps me out. And here's that video on shopping the deal. Go and check it out. If you haven't watched it yet, it's well worth it.